Hey everyone, welcome back to our channel. If you're new, my name is Jess, and in this video I will be sharing a little bit about my postpartum recovery. I'm just going to kind of do an update, and then I'm going to share the products that I actually used. So if you're not already subscribed and you enjoy these types of videos, maybe you're expecting and you want just some quick tips and tricks, definitely subscribe and join the Nook fam. We would love to have you. Chief's going to join us today. And I have Eliana here. She's trying to sleep, but I think I'm keeping her awake. I'm sorry, sweet girl. So before I went into labor, I did some postpartum prep where I gathered all of these materials that I thought I might need postpartum, and I also made some DIY padsicles. Now, if you haven't seen that video, go watch that video first. That way you know kind of what was in my postpartum recovery kit, and then I'm going to show you what I actually used from that in this video today, as well as some things that I received from the hospital. I'm currently 4 weeks postpartum, so I still have 2 weeks left to go until I hit my 6 weeks for my follow-up doctor's appointment. So I am not there yet, but I just wanted to go ahead and share what's been going on with me during this postpartum period because I'm almost done, and honestly, I've had a pretty easy postpartum recovery overall, but let me just tell you, the sleep deprivation is real. I don't know if you guys can tell, probably not because I actually tried to get ready to look a little bit more normal today, but my eyes are really red and tired, and I do like to get ready, especially when I'm trying to film, because it just makes me feel a little bit more put together and awake and alert. Otherwise, I feel so exhausted and I just don't feel motivated to get anything done. So I do take the time to get ready because I notice that it just helps me kind of be more productive and I just feel better overall. But I am still very, very tired, even a month into postpartum, and I'm sure that will continue for quite some time. I hear 18 years is about the time frame that lasts, so we'll just have to see. But it's totally worth it. I wouldn't trade it for anything. This little perfect little angel is my favorite thing in the whole entire world, and she's just the best. I couldn't ask for anything better. So let's go ahead and dive into my postpartum recovery update, and I'll kind of talk about the products that I've been using. So just to give you guys a little bit of background, I gained 37 pounds during my pregnancy, and baby girl was 7 pounds 11 ounces when she was born. I pushed for 15 minutes and had a completely normal vaginal delivery with no complications. And I only had 2 stitches, so I did tear a teeny tiny bit on the inside. Everything else on the outside was fine, but I did tear a little bit on the inside, which I didn't even feel because I had the epidural, and so I did need 2 stitches, but honestly, I probably wouldn't have known that I even tore if my doctor didn't tell me, just because I didn't feel anything, and then I didn't really feel it too much postpartum. So a little bit here and there, which I'll get into in just a moment when we talk about some of the products. Now, if you're already this far into the video, I'm assuming that you're okay with it being a little TMI, considering this is a postpartum video. So if you don't want to hear about postpartum bleeding and those sorts of things, then please click off this video because I will be talking a little bit about that. But if you're expecting and you want to learn a little bit more about my postpartum experience to hopefully help you, then definitely stick around. Right after I gave birth, I did have quite a lot of bleeding, and the nurses were so sweet. They actually helped me to the bathroom because, number one, they have to after you have an epidural because you aren't super steady on your feet and your legs might give out, which I felt fine, but they have to walk you to the bathroom. So the nurse helped me go to the bathroom and made sure that I peed, and then she did help me put my mesh panties on, which they do provide at the hospital, as well as a big pad, which they gave me a lot of those as well. But that first time that I went to the bathroom, there was a lot of blood. I mean, a lot of blood. So thankfully the nurse was there to kind of help me through that. She also gave me a peri bottle, which I'll show you in a minute, to help kind of cleanse down there without wiping. You basically just use water to spray everything off. And then right after that, they took me to my postpartum recovery room. Once I was in my recovery room, the nurses did come in to check my bleeding, but I used the bathroom on my own, and then they were there if I needed assistance, which I didn't, but the option was there to have them help if I needed it. So I did stay in the hospital for 48 hours to make sure that I wasn't hemorrhaging and bleeding too much. So for those first 24 hours, they continued to monitor my bleeding a lot, and they would go in and check my pads. They would look down there to make sure that I wasn't having big blood clots. They said that if I had any kind of clot that was bigger than your fingertip, then that was too big, and to let them know, whether that was in a pad or in the toilet. It didn't matter, just anything that was bigger than my fingertip, I had to let them know because that was too big. So luckily I didn't have that. My bleeding was actually really light, they said, compared to what it could have been. So I was really lucky as far as bleeding goes. It was very, very heavy to me at first, but I guess compared to what I was expecting it to be, from what you hear from everyone, I was expecting it to be a lot more blood, and I really didn't have too much bleeding. So I was very grateful for that. So when I was in the hospital and they would come in to check my bleeding, they would also come in to ask about aches and pains, if I needed any pain medication. They did give me Motrin I think it was every 8 or 9 hours, because I did start to feel really achy, especially the day after. So my body was so achy from just, I mean, you basically use muscles you don't even know you have when you're giving birth. So everything just hurt from straining and pushing. I mean, everything. Just these muscles all over my body that I didn't even know I had were hurting, and not in a way where I couldn't walk or anything, but it just felt like I had a really good full body workout the day before, which basically I did. As far as my lady bits, I really wasn't too sore. The only area that I was really sore in down there was right in the front where my pubic bone was. So it felt like, let me adjust this little one. There we go. So it felt like my pubic bone, when it had relaxed to kind of open up before birth, it felt like it was kind of trying to fuse back together. And that is something that I've dealt with over this entire postpartum period. So that's something that I still feel occasionally, even 4 weeks after. Not frequently, but every once in a while, it'll feel kind of just achy right there in the middle. Hey, honey bun. And then my lower back was also really, really achy, as well as my tailbone. So I did have an epidural, which I will go into in another video if you guys want to know more about that. And thank goodness I did, because I had an anterior placenta, which means it was up front, which made her kind of pushed to the back. So I think that I would have had pretty bad back labor had I not had the epidural, because my tailbone, everything just felt really achy towards the back of my body, my lower back and my tailbone. It was just really, really sore. And so when they came in and asked if I needed any pain medication, that's what I really needed the Motrin for, is my tailbone and lower back pain, and then that achy feeling right in the front where my pubic bone was. So they did give me Motrin, and then they would come in periodically. I honestly didn't keep track of how often. I was just focused on the Motrin because I really wanted that. But they did give me Colace, which is a stool softener, and they did prescribe that to me as well when I left the hospital. And then they also gave me iron supplements as well as fiber supplements. So that just kind of helped to regulate everything and just keep everything on track. And I think they ended up giving me some prenatals or postnatals as well, a time or two. So now I'm gonna get into the products that I used both at the hospital and then when I came home. Like I said, I prepared ahead of time, and I'm so glad I did. I definitely preferred some of my own things over what the hospital gave me, and then I also really appreciated some of the things that the hospital provided. So let's go ahead and dive right in. So I'm gonna start with the very famous mesh panties. So this is what they give you at the hospital. And a lot of people really, really like these. A lot of women really enjoy wearing the mesh panties. However, I have to say, I did not like them at all. So here they are. They are very, very stretchy, and they're supposed to be really comfortable, but I didn't like them, and I'll tell you why. So basically you put this on, and then they give you these ginormous pads. So this is what they look like. I'm gonna open one up so you can see how huge these things are, you guys. So this is the pad. This is huge. It's ginormous, and like I said, I wasn't bleeding so much where I felt like I needed this, but basically you put this in the mesh panties and that is what you wear. Now, like I said, I wasn't really bleeding so much where I felt like I needed this, and these were really saggy on me. So I would walk around and then sit in bed, and everything would just kind of shift around so that when I would get up and walk around again, I felt like everything was just saggy. Almost like you think about a baby with a saggy poopy diaper just kind of drooping down. That's what I felt like. I felt like it wasn't gonna work as far as keeping everything in the pad. So I just felt really uncomfortable, and I didn't really use too many of those while I was in the hospital. What I preferred is something that I brought on my own, and that was a lot of these adult diapers. So these are the Always Discreet brand. I used these when I ended up having a miscarriage last year, and so I knew that they would be comfortable, number one, and they would keep all of the blood contained, and it would feel like I'm basically wearing underwear. So they are smooth, I mean, as far as diapers go, I guess, but you can put them on under leggings or yoga pants or a dress, and you can't tell that you're wearing them. Whereas these, I felt like I was waddling around just because I was so uncomfortable. This was so much more comfortable for me. Now, of course, it's personal preference. I knew that these worked for me when I miscarried, so I knew that they would work for me postpartum. And I wish that I had taken more of these to the hospital. I think I took 6 of these when I went, but I ended up having to wear a few of these because I didn't have enough. So if this is your first baby and this is not something you want, then I would suggest you get a pack of these or a couple packs, keep a pack at home, and then take a pack to the hospital with you as well. So the hospital also gave me a pack of these liners, which were an option that I could have used. And I don't know, I think I might have used this once. I don't remember, honestly. I don't really remember using these. I think maybe when the nurse helped me put my stuff on, maybe we used this inside of the pad. I can't remember. Maybe it was like this. Yeah, I think that's what it was. But they sent me home with those. And then they also gave me these ice packs. So this is a Perineal cold pack, but I used them not only down there, I also used this on my back and where my tailbone was really sore and achy. So these are really cool, actually, you guys. It's basically like a padsicle. So you guys saw that I made some homemade ones. This is a real one. I'm gonna open it up so I can show you what it looks like. So this is what it looks like. It's basically a pad and ice pack in one. So it will absorb blood, but it also is cooling. It has a cooling effect. So basically what you do, I'm not gonna do it right now, but you fold this in half all the way, like right in the middle, until you hear a pop. And once you hear the pop, that means that there's like a liquid or something that makes these like little cold pellets in there dissolve, and then it makes this feel really, really cold. So once you have your ice pack, you can put it inside of your underwear and have it cool down there if you are feeling the need to do that. Or you can use it just as a regular ice pack. So I used these a lot, like I said, on my lower back or on my tailbone area, just to relieve some of that. However, when it was on my back, I was only supposed to leave it on there for 15 minutes because I was so sore. They said that it was basically like a new injury if I left it on longer than that. So I'm not an expert in that by any means, but anyway, these came in really, really handy. I did not end up using any of the DIY padsicles that I made for here at the house, not one. So I don't know, I didn't even use these ones that they sent me home with, but I'm gonna keep them on hand in case I ever need them, not for down there, but just for if I need to ice an injury or a sore muscle or something like that. And then the last 2 things that the hospital sent me home with were this Medicated spray and some Hydrocortisone Cream. So basically they told me to alternate these. This is a numbing spray. So anytime I was feeling a little bit sore down there, which I did start to a few days later, I would spray this down there and it basically numbs the area. And then this one is technically for hemorrhoids, I believe, which I didn't end up getting, but anytime I felt itchy, then I would put this on. And I always used a rubber glove, so I just took a handful of these from the hospital when they sent me home with this so that I could use this at home just for sanitary reasons. So basically when I was feeling a little bit itchy or sore down there from healing, I would put the glove on, just take a tiny bit of the cream and put it down there. These 2 I really loved, especially once I was here at home. I really loved this. This is what it looks like. So this is basically like Dermaplast, and I did have a sitz bath spray that I bought for here at the house that I didn't use at all. So this was sufficient for me. So again, I did use those a lot once I was home, and I also used a variety of pads and things once I got home as well. So when I first got home, I was still definitely wearing these adult diapers. These were amazing, just amazing. If I could recommend one postpartum product to you guys, this would be it right here. So just personal preference, like I said, but they definitely come in handy. Once my bleeding slowed down even more, I transitioned to pads. So these are just the large, regular sized pads. They're not overnight pads, but they held up just fine, and so I used those. And then as my bleeding continued to decrease, I just downsized in pads. So then I went to these ultra thin pads, which these I wore for the longest amount of time, and I loved these because they weren't too thick and heavy, but they still absorbed enough of the bleeding. And I guess I wasn't really bleeding when I moved to these. It was more just like I was having a lot of discharge, and it didn't smell or anything. It was just kind of the after effects, I guess, of everything. So by the time I moved to these, which was probably around the 2-week mark, yeah, probably about 2 weeks, I was just having a lot of discharge at that time. And occasionally I would get a little bit of blood here and there, especially if we, were walking out for a walk for a long time, or if I had to run an errand and so I was on my feet more, I would bleed a little bit more. But most of the time it was just some discharge and some leftover like fluid and mucus and things. It's kind of gross, but that's pretty much all that was absorbed into this. And now I really don't have to wear any pads. I'm not bleeding anymore, and I'm hardly having any discharge. But just to be on the safe side, because I do get a little bit here and there, maybe every other day, I have been wearing these small pads. And these are just panty liners, but they're the thick ones. They're not the super thin ones. So it's just this. And what I've been doing is layering them. So I guess I don't have to take the sticky off. But I just wanted to show you how I am overlapping them, not layering, overlapping, because that covers more of your underwear. When I was just putting one in the middle, it would get like stuck. So anyway, it would kind of like stick to my skin. So I found that overlapping so that it would come higher up to the front and then further to the back, that helped me more, and it was a lot more comfortable. Like I said, I'm not really having any kind of bleeding or discharge much now. It's probably every other day that I get just a teeny tiny bit, and so I want to have something there just in case, but I don't really need anything more than this. So a tip that I have for you if you decide to go with the adult diapers is to use these Tux cooling pads. So once I was home, I actually did get a little bit more sore and a little bit itchy as things were healing later on. So at the hospital, I didn't really feel that. And then I did start to a couple of weeks into being at home. So one of the things I started using probably at 2 weeks in were these Tux medicated cooling pads. And I'll just take one out so you guys can see. So they are just these round pads. They are pre-moistened with the witch hazel. And basically I would take 3 of these and line the inside of the adult diaper so that way it was cooling right on my lady bits and everything stayed nice and secure. And then one thing I wanted to mention that a lot of people don't talk about is having that first bowel movement. So yes, they give you Colace, which is a stool softener. Yes, they give you fiber pills, at least they did at my hospital. I did have Colace here at the house just in case, but they did give those to me. And so those do help, but you have to think about having your first bowel movement after giving birth. So I want to say, let's see, it must have been on day 4. Day 4 after having her, or I guess it would have been 3 days postpartum, is when I had my first bowel movement. They did not require me to have that in the hospital before I left. They only required me to be able to pass gas, which I was very gassy. And so they were fine with me going home without having a bowel movement. So once I had that, it was just very soft. It was a very tiny amount, but you guys wouldn't believe the amount of pressure that I had in that pubic bone area where I feel like everything was trying to fuse back together. It was just kind of stretched out, I feel. I don't know. But that was kind of painful. That was probably the most painful part of my healing process, is when I would have a bowel movement and it felt like my pubic bone was ripping apart. Not the inside, but my pubic bone up front. So ouch, that hurt more than anything probably this entire postpartum recovery period. So when I would have a bowel movement, I did use some wet wipes just because I didn't like only getting to use the Peri bottle, which if you guys don't know, this is a Peri bottle. It's just a very simple plastic bottle that sprays water. And I had one at home already, and then the hospital gave me one as well. I have been using these not only for every time I go to the bathroom, but also in the shower. For example, if I had to pee, I would fill this up with warm water first. Don't forget to put warm water and not cold water because it is very uncomfortable if the water is room temperature or cold. You want to make sure that you're refilling it with warm water every time, because if you don't, it doesn't feel good. So I would spray myself off with the warm water to cleanse, and then I would take a little bit of toilet paper and just kind of dab so that I wasn't wiping, because that would be painful and no, it's just dry. This is what they suggested, and I definitely can see why. Now, when I would have a bowel movement, I would do the same thing using this in the back as well, but then I would take a wet wipe and cleanse myself just in the back, because I can't handle that, and I can't handle not feeling clean. I have another one of these in the shower, and at the beginning I was just using it to spray off, but as I could tell that I was healing, I ended up starting to use a feminine cleansing soap down there, just a very gentle feminine cleanser to help myself feel clean. And what I would do is cleanse down there and then still use this just to cleanse it a little bit more. I have honestly been doing pretty well. I did have a couple of episodes where I would feel really, really emotional and really, really sad over the smallest things. Oh yeah? Did you guys hear that? That was so cute. I love when she, oh! I think she's dreaming. Sweet girl. But my emotions were all over the place. So most of the time I was very happy and I felt just amazing. Just like, I'm so happy to not be pregnant anymore and just to have my little girl here. It just felt so, so good to feel semi back to my old self. And most of the days were just amazing. Now, I will say when I was in the hospital, when I was in the hospital and I took a shower for the first time, I did take 2 showers while I was at the hospital still. But when I took the first shower, I got really, really sad. And that was because when she was in my tummy, taking a shower was kind of like a bonding experience. And I know that sounds really, really weird, but it was kind of like a bonding experience for she and I felt like when I was in the shower, because I just could feel her in my tummy and sing to her and just kind of rub her and love on her. And that was just kind of a bonding moment for us when I was pregnant with her. And the first time that I showered without her there, it just made me really sad. And I don't know if that's normal or not, but I was really emotional about it. And I'm like, just thinking about it, it's kind of making me a little sad. But I have her here now, and that's the best part. Yeah. So as you can tell, my emotions are still kind of running wild a little bit. But I'm working on it. So like another thing is that I have been exclusively breastfeeding her, and I'm a very independent person. I like to be able to go out and run my errands and just kind of get some things done. I like to be productive, and sometimes I know that I'm gonna wanna run out and run to Target, go get my nails done. I know that there's just gonna be times when I want Chaz to watch her, and that way I can go out and get some stuff done or pamper myself or just anything like that. And so one of the things that has been extremely hard for me so far is that I have to come to terms with the fact that she is going to be bottle fed here and there by Chaz or by a family member whenever I'm not around. So my plan is to obviously give her breast milk because everything's going good with that. And I will be doing some breastfeeding videos for you guys as well. But it's hard because right now I know she needs me and I want to be there for her. If I'm not there for her and someone else has to feed her, it just kind of breaks my heart. But at the same time, I'm not gonna be around all the time, every single day, 24/7 to breastfeed her. I mean, I don't want to wait too long to introduce a bottle because then she may not take it, and that would just be a challenge in itself later on also. So it's just hard. So those are the 2 things that have really kind of made me sad since having her. But otherwise, I am so, so happy, and I'm so glad she's finally here and I get to hold her in my arms. It's just the best feeling in the world. And she's starting to smile more, and I love it. It's the cutest thing ever. Oh my goodness. But overall, I'm doing really well. There have been a few times where Chaz and I were kind of we had some disagreements on things, and we were both very sleep deprived. We are getting better, but it's hard to really think rationally and be yourself when you're so sleep deprived. So we've been working through just making sure that we're getting enough sleep, because I mean, we're obviously not, but we're working through, you know, making sure that we're being patient with one another. And it's hard, you guys. I mean, the first month is hard, and we've actually had it really easy compared to a lot of people from what I've heard. So I'm definitely counting my blessings, but having a newborn is no easy feat. I mean, she is worth every single second, but it's not easy. And even with all of the help and support that we've had, I mean, she still gets fussy sometimes, and we're still up every 3 to 4 hours at night. You know, I mean, I get up to feed her, I nurse for about 45 minutes, and then by the time she's back to sleep, it's been about an hour to an hour and 15 minutes. And then she wakes up a couple hours later. Chaz has been so helpful, and he wants to help. He has been getting up and changing her diapers, but then that makes him tired, and so we're working through that. So we definitely, like I said, have had it easy compared to what it could be. If you guys take anything away from this video, I just want you to know that everything is totally and completely worth it. Don't be scared. I know everyone's experience is different, but I think that there's so much out there that can cause stress and anxiety when it comes to childbirth and postpartum. I mean, I was so nervous before, and honestly, this has been the best ride of my life so far, and I wouldn't trade it for anything. So just try not to stress, try to relax, and prepare as much as you can ahead of time, because that will ease a lot of that anxiety as well. And just enjoy it. I mean, just enjoy the experience. Yes, you are gonna have to take some time to recover. Right now, my lower back is hurting a little bit because I have been kind of leaning back to hold her a lot recently, and just kind of sitting and positioning. My posture has been quite off. But you guys, it's so worth it. It's so worth it. So don't be nervous. You're gonna rock it, and just be confident in yourself, and I'm praying for you always. So thank you guys so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed this video. Don't forget to subscribe if you're not subscribed already, and I'll see you guys in our next video. Bye.